Yes, folks, welcome back to MoDXtra Games and Collectibles. Once again, it's time for another action figure review here on the channel. And as you can see on the screen right now, today's installment is going to be all about taking a closer look at the new G.I. Joe Classified Series Cobra Metalhead figure. So if you've been thinking about picking one of these up of your own, but you're on the fence about that purchase decision, stick with me because by the end of this video, I'll have given you all the ins and outs, ups and downs that you need to know. A good, thorough look at the figure so that you know whether you should be dropping your hard-earned cash on this bad boy or not. So we're going to take a look at the packaging and the unboxing experience. Then we're going to get into the figure itself, talk about the visual experience and the aesthetic, give you a run through of the articulation, take a walkthrough of all the accessories, just cover everything you might need to know before you spend your money. So let's not dilly-dally around, let's get straight into it and let's go back in time to past Chris when I cracked the box open for the very first time when he arrived on my doorstep. All right then, Metalhead then, folks, here we go. So windowed packaging showing off the figure and all the goodies. Giving me a little bit of shelf presence there, a little bit of artwork here in the right-hand corner. He's an Iron Grenadier subline member, G.I. Joe Classified, all that good stuff that you usually get on the front of these new packages. Then on the back, we can see that Metalhead is 118 in the line. Got the digital render artwork here on the back. Loving that they're keeping these as part of the packaging experience. Of course, there's a massive Easter egg in the background there. And if you want to know more about that, go check out my Easter egg video. I'll pop a link in the description down below. Couple of breakout windows with some key features. So the Destro Iron Grenadiers symbol on his shoulder paint applications, and then his really funky design backpack. Legal bollocks and malarkey across the bottom. Then, of course, we've got the data card. So let's learn some more about Metalhead, although I'll use the one on the side for this. All right, then. So little known fact, folks, the little bomb here is because Metalhead is the 10 times summer camp water balloon fight champion. In his youth, he was just an absolute master with the water balloons and has gone undefeated until he was not permitted to go any further from 18 years onwards. This little missile here is to reflect his love of rocket ships. He goes regularly on holiday to Cape Canaveral to watch rocket launches, takes photos. He's got a little book that he writes down the fin numbers of the rockets and stuff. Just a real nerdy guy when it comes to rocket launches from Cape Canaveral. We got this helmet here with a line through it. This is just because Metalhead outrightly refuses to wear hats. Just hates hats, can't stand hats, helmets, anything going over the top of his head like that. Just outrightly refuses and thinks anyone who wears hats is an idiot. And here in the bottom right-hand corner, folks, we've got a computer screen. This is to reflect the fact that Metalhead is currently working towards his doctorate. And his doctorate thesis is on the subject of the effects of drinking rocket fuel on human beings. So keep an eye out for that getting published in a journal near you sometime soon. Other side of the box, we've just got a larger version of the artwork from the front there. That's a lovely piece of artwork, that. Very into that. And then just some more legal bollocks and malarkey across the bottom. Okay, let's get this open then. So pop the flap off the bottom there. Paperwork! Slide Metalhead out. Standard red Cobra background for him. Oh, loads of stuff to pop through on this one. So let's start over here with, these will be his thigh rocket launchers. Folks, this hair swap is an absolute chore to get out the packet. Holy cow. Great 80s mullet on that. Oh, maybe he does like helmets. Perhaps I'll have to fire my researcher. Submachine gun. Rifle. Oh my god. How do you get that out without bending the bloody... All right, there you go. Dagger. I've said it before, I'll say it again, folks. I really hate the blister pack experience. It actually frustrates the living hell out of me. I would take us back to plastic-free packaging. I hate this. Jeez, right, first rocket. I'm just going to say it, folks, because I know you're all thinking it. These rockets bear an uncanny resemblance to another recreational item. I mean, shit, man, look at the big one. I've just cut a big section of me taking the rockets out of out of the packaging there. Onto the backpack now. Oh geez, well I hope these bits are supposed to come apart because they have come apart. Yeah, looks like they plug in. Thank God. I mean, oh, it's stupid. Oh, and then finally, with caution, watching these thigh pegs here. Let's get the figure out. Oh, God. That one was onerous. All right then, folks. Well, there is Metalhead out of the packaging. I'm going to go away and get some hands-on playtime, get some experience with the figure before I review it. Take some photos, pose him up, all that good stuff. So stick around because Future of Chris will be with you with some review thoughts in 3, 2, 1. All right then, folks, let's get into the review section of the video now. Then we're going to start by talking about the aesthetic. Let's talk about the visual experience of the figure. Here he is as he comes straight out of the packaging. Take a good head-to-toe eyeball of this guy. And it's very clear right from the outset that this is a modern reinterpretation. There's clearly some classic vintage Metalhead inspiration in there, but it's definitely more on the side of full-on modern reinterpretation of the character. So there's little touches in there that echo back to the nostalgic look and feel of the character. The red, the choice of red, you know, in the colour scheme, although it's not quite as vivid as I remember it being in the cartoon or on the original figure. Little touches like the placement of the knife on the front there, quite vintage inspired, the way the pegs are on the thighs, just like the old figure. But largely speaking, it's an independent design in its own right. You know it's Metalhead because of the, you know, the mullet hair and the overall aesthetic, but it's been updated for sure. Moving in a little bit closer to taking some of the finer details. Let's start with the head, for example. The face sculpt is all right. I must admit, for the amount of praise I generally lavish on G.I. Joe Classified for its head sculpt quality, I'm not into this one quite as much as I am in the past. There just seems to be a little bit of a plainness and like a shiny flatness to it that I've not observed on other figures. However, that said, the facial features are there, they're well sculpted, the paint applications are well applied, you know, the beard, the teeth, the eyes. Got this cool little teardrop tattoo there just underneath the left eye as well, just well placed, a nice little character touch. The hair sculpt, the one that comes out the packaging, got some flow and some scruff and some energy about it. Obviously, he's got his little 80s rock mullet hanging down the back there as well. It's well sculpted overall. I'm just not completely blown away by the face, and I'm not sure why. I think it's because of that sort of plastic shininess in the skin tone choice, which doesn't stand out to me as much as it has done on previous figures. But it will matter less later on when I show you the head swap. Moving further down, we've got all the usual kind of little finer detail pieces that give it some depth and some texture and help us with the sort of storytelling element of the figures. He's got his little cold slither. I don't know, is that a sticker? Something he's got at a gig slammed on the front of his little armor plate there, and then some kill counts, some crosses and dashes for some kill count stuff. You could also see that there's a bit of wear and tear that they've put into the sculpt there as well, just to give it some character and some personality, you know, to show that this has been on the receiving end of a few tests, a few rocket tests that's gone a little bit haywire in the past. And then you've got all this lovely additional detail in the big kind of webbing chest piece, you know, with the pockets, the details in the pockets, the little kind of protective padding bits, the radio there. You've got some studs and some texture detail in the straps and such like, all up to the usual G.I. Joe Classified series standard. You can also see a lovely bit of that texture detail in these this top red section, particularly on the sleeve here. It's got like a sort of leathery look and feel to it, and of course this one as well has got that really neat and tidy paint application with Destro's Iron Grenadiers symbol on it. That continues on down into the body. You've got the texture detail, you've got the different colours in the straps, the knee pads, the little touches of red throughout there, and down here on the boots too, just to give it a bit of symmetry and to frame up that grey and break it up a little bit, which is nice. In what is yet another testament to the attention to detail that the G.I. Joe Classified design team applied to their figures. On the back here, where his big, you know, mega rocket backpack thing goes, we've got this sort of interface section here where it all plugs in, and they've sculpted that all in and applied a load of paint applications and colours and stuff. So if you're not using it, there's lots of personality and storytelling in this section here, but if you are using it, then it helps the quality of the fit of the rocket pack. The thigh pegs for the thigh-mounted rocket launchers are, I don't know, a little bit weird. Obviously, when you're using the thigh-mounted rocket launchers, it becomes less of an issue. But if you're choosing not to use the thigh-mounted rocket launchers, then they obviously clearly stand out as as a very toyetic sort of peg there. And it might have been nice if they'd shown these the same sort of detail that they showed the interface for the backpack around the back. So out of the box, he's all right. He's a decent looking figure. But what I will say, of course, is that the weapon loadout and his accessory selection is what brings him to life, because they're such a key part to the visual identity and the personality and the specialism that he brings. So the figure, as it stands on its own, has got a couple of little flaws. Like I say, the head sculpt's a bit meh, and the pegs look a bit funny. But once you engage with the wider experience of the accessories, which of course we will do in a few minutes, as we get deeper into the video, that brings the visual experience to life. So I'm going to give him a thumbs up with a little bit of small print to say he looks okay as he is, but the thumbs up is really for the full experience when you get everything on him by the end. All right, well, there we go. There's the aesthetic. Let's now take a quick run through the articulation. Okay then, so it's standard G.I. Joe Classified Series articulation, so if you've had one in hand before, you'll be familiar with what I'm about to show you, but I'll give you a quick rundown in case it's your first time ever looking at a classified figure, or you might be interested to know how some of this stuff contributes to restricting how he moves. Getting started at the head then, it's the standard ball at the top of the head and ball at the bottom of the neck. Gives you fairly decent up, although that's restricted by the mullet at the back there, and fairly decent down. This front plate doesn't get in the way of that at all, particularly. It's more to do with the shape of his collar, if anything. Then you got a good swivel, although you can't do a full 360 assist, not that people would do that very often, and the usual sort of tilty motion around the ball at the top there. So pretty good up top, pretty good on the head. Then down into the arms, you can see the shoulder's got a butterfly joint there, giving you a bit of shuffle back and forward. And then it's the hinge and swivel in the arm, which means you can go all the way around 360 and bring it up like so. Swivel there at the top of the bicep and tricep. Pinless double elbow that'll get you up to there. And then the standard pegged in hand, which means you can swivel around in the joint there. And this one on the right has a hinge up and down. And this one on the left has a forward and back. Into the main torso, I'm pretty confident is the standard ab crunch behind here. And then with the waist movement, the ball on the waist as well. The ab crunch actually isn't too badly restricted. There you go, by the body armor here. It's not too bad because of the way they've sort of cut it off slightly higher, above, by his belly button there. You can actually benefit from the ab crunch. Not too bad, and then the swivel in the waist as well. Although, what I will say, you've probably noticed it already, mine sits a little bit high, and there's a bit wibbly wobbly loose there in the waist cut, and then this groin piece seems to move around a lot as well. Getting down into the legs, it's the standard G.I. Joe Classified Series drop-down joint, which gives you good forward, and then you can do the splits out, obviously slightly obstructed by the thigh panels here. Got the swivel at the top of the thigh, pinless double knee that'll get you up to there, and then down in the feet, you've got the boot cut at the top of the boot, and then the hinge and rocker on the ankles. So he's not too bad of a mover. Good quality, classic G.I. Joe Classified Series articulation. Gets a thumbs up. You might think that all of this stuff here would restrict movement, but it doesn't all that much. And I've found a few poses that I've liked and have thought to be interesting with him. Although the accessory experience changes the narrative around that once again. But generally speaking, again, out of the packet figure, decent articulation. Okay, well, that's the articulation then. Let's now get to the real juicy stuff and talk about the accessories. All right, folks, well, I'm going to get started with the head stuff. So Metalhead comes with 3 head pieces in total. The one that's on him when he comes out the packet, and then 2 others that I'll show you now. This pops off like so, leaving that kind of weird bold head thing with the grooves in it there that we've seen with the likes of Lady J and Shipwreck in the past. The first headpiece is this helmet type thing, this sort of heavy metal Viking rocker type deal with a saw blade on it there for headbutting action. It's all right. It's well designed. It's that rubbery sort of plastic design that we've seen on a couple of other things in the past. It's got good sculpt details, like the blade and the spikes and this little kind of samurai style armor skirt at the back there. We've got paint applications in the wings and in the eyepieces. So he's got those yellow looking goggles, so it's all right. I'm just not so keen on it. It feels to me like it fits a bit funny, and it definitely sort of gets in the way with this little front piece. It's not, I don't know. I've not found a good look with it, but there it is nonetheless. And then the next headpiece is hair with the targeting goggles, which I think will be the look I'll be sticking with, and I'd be very surprised if the large majority of individuals who've got a metal head aren't sticking with that also, because it's the classic look from the cartoon, from the old vintage figure there. This is decent, well sculpted. We've got the yellow visor there with all the kind of HUD targeting stuff that we can see underneath it all, which is nice. The hair is as well sculpted as the main headpiece, but what it does do is it kind of takes away from that more shiny, less sculpted face thing that I was experiencing. So I think the goggles sort of eliminate some of my criticisms from earlier. It's just a shame that they mostly cover up that really cool tear tattoo. Then Metalhead's got himself a couple of guns. We've seen this one before with Snow Serpent, I think one of the Vipers, and then this the kind of classic cartoon animated series style pew pew that you saw the Cobra Troopers holding. It's got nice kind of synergy with his colour scheme with the splash of red on there, but we've seen these before. They're decently sculpted. The magazines come in and out, which is all fine and dandy if you're into that. This one's a bit rubbery, as we saw with the Snow Serpents version, but they're okay. I'm not so much into that one, but that one's all right. That's fine. What you don't have, though, is anywhere particularly to store these on the figure. Then the main event is Rocket Backpack. So you've got these two articulated arms here at the top. They've got a swivel where they join the base of the backpack, and then you've got the hinge and the little ball rocker at the top there. So you've got a range of motion in those. You can get them out flat and get them up over high. They're okay. This is a single piece of molded plastic, no paint applications on there, which sucks because the little interface on the back is really awesome. It'd be great if that mirrored that. But in general, I've been saying for ages, we need more paint applications on these wonderful backpacks. But it's well sculpted. We've got a little splash of colour here on this sort of grill section on the back of the rockets. And then we've got a kind of open back on there, and then we've got obviously a big open channel on the front. Then you can see there's a peg, male peg there, and then two female peg holes for the plugging in on the back, which is super slick and straightforward. Just line up those pegs and you're away. And already there, before I've even got even further into the accessory selection, you can see that visual identity of Metalhead coming to life even more with the targeting goggles and the rocket pieces coming over his shoulder. One little review point, the right arm, the hinge here on the right arm for me is a bit loose. So it doesn't kind of hold itself up as well as the one on the left. And so sometimes when I've wanted to have them out like this, over time, I start to see this one drooping, especially with, especially with the added weight of the rocket effects. Then you've got the two thigh-mounted rocket units as well. They're both exactly the same, so I'll just use one for the demonstration there. Again, it's a single piece of molded plastic with a little splash of colour here with the metallic paint job on the grill section. We've got the two forward-facing rocket ports, and then the little exhaust ports at the back there, and then you've got the little hole right in that chamber there. Then each of them have got a peg hole here, so they can fit on the thigh pegs. Super straightforward. Just pop those on till you get the little clicky sound, and there you go. With the ball on the base of that, it gives you a decent kind of range of motion with those thigh-mounted rocket launchers. Then you've got these couple of cables. These allow you to join the backpack to the thigh-mounted rockets. The implementation on these, folks, I'm going to call it out right now, is not great, but I'll show you how they work nonetheless. You got a little hole here at the base of the backpack, which he's trying to do, watching his little screen off to the side there. And then that hole I pointed out before is where you plug it in to the back of the rocket mount. But what I'll say is these drop out all the time, and these drop out all the time. As soon as you try and do a little bit of posing with something a little bit more kind of like firing outward or whatever, you can see it's... Oh, well, of course, typically now on camera, it's not falling out, but trust me, these pop out all the time, as do the top ones. So I found myself just foregoing these, but they're there, and they're part of the visual kind of experience for sure. You've got the rocket blast effects and the rockets themselves. I'm not going to labour the joke I made when I first cracked open the packet, other than to reiterate that these look like something you might buy from Love Honey or Ann Summers to spice up your marriage. But they're fine. They're okay. I mean, the colour scheme seems a bit odd, and the shape and the design doesn't strike me as particularly exciting, but they're okay, I suppose. The blast effects are good. They've got the little fat pegs at one end to go inside the rockets, and then you've got the little thin pegs at the bottom to plug into these peg holes on the base of the rockets. What I will say, exercise a bit of caution when you're removing these from the packaging. You can see here on my smaller ones, the smallest of the 3 sizes, that I managed to bend the pegs when taking them out of the blister pack. So exercise caution, folks. You've been warned. I was about to demonstrate the blast effects going into the rocket launchers there, but surprise, surprise, lo and behold, the hoses, the cables fell out at the back, just demonstrating my point from earlier. But in any case, there's 3 different sizes of these. The longer ones with the larger pegs fit into the top here. They take a little bit of a push and an effort, but they're not too bad there, and you're not going to be too concerned about them falling out anytime soon. And then you just make your own mind up whether you want the slightly longer one at the top or the bottom. I go longer top, short at the bottom there. And you know what? Let's do longer at the bottom and shorter at the top. Very exciting. There you go. You can see they're just nice and easy to pop in. And then you just start mounting your rockets on the end of the pegs like so. And last but by no means least, folks, Metalhead's got a little knife. Little knife with a nice metallic paint job on the blade and, and a sculpted hilt that fits into the sheath just there on his chest. So overall, it's a decent accessory selection. There's lots of stuff in there, adds to the value. It's certainly an important part of the visual identity and the personality of the character. And they've leaned into it. You know, they've gone for the wild abandon of Metalhead and made it very evident and present in the vibes he's giving off. And it's okay. It's just a couple of kind of little implementation issues like the bloody cables and stuff. So overall, it's a thumbs up. The guy's crazy. You know how much I like the weird, idiosyncratic, balmy characters, and look at that now that he's all tooled up. Absolutely balmy. Okay then, folks, well, here's Metalhead going around on the turntable so you can get the full 360 experience. And this is pretty much the pose I've had him in almost permanently, if I'm being perfectly honest. As I said before, I've foregone the cables from the backpack to the thigh-mounted launchers. And I like the figure. I do like the figure, but there's one fundamental flaw with the overall Metalhead experience, and that is that my imagination is struggling to do much more with him than this. Like with all the stuff, the rocket launchers on the thighs and over the shoulders, and that's about as inventive as I feel like I can get with him. I've tried, honestly, guys, I've tried to come up with some curious poses. I sat down to get a classic MoDXtra 1-minute showcase done, and I was failing. Because I didn't like the way he looked without his gear on, particularly. The thigh pegs were doing me nutting. And well, once you put all the stuff on it, you've got to put the rockets in and have the rockets launching. Particularly because, actually, something I didn't note before, there's nowhere to store these rockets. They don't sit inside the launchers if you're not using the effects. Or at least I couldn't get it to work. I don't know if it's something I was missing. I wondered if you could store them in the back, but I couldn't get it to work. So yeah, I like the figure, but I've just found him a bit less engaging, I suppose would be the way I'd put it, compared to others, where you've got a kind of a wider possibility of poses and styles. And that could be a lack of imagination on my part. I fully acknowledge that, and you're welcome to call me out for that in the comments down below. But yeah, that's the thing that sort of hurt me the most. So I like him. He's a good, classified reinterpretation of a balmy, idiosyncratic character from the early 90s that appeals to me greatly, but I haven't played with him so much, as much as I have with others. So there you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so I'll wrap that up there. Hopefully, if you've been thinking about buying yourself a Metalhead, then I have given you plenty of food for thought today to consider whether this is the figure for you. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, then I would be eternally grateful to you if you would bother to hit that subscribe button. And if you found this useful, then please do not hesitate to hit the thumbs up, even though I'm finishing the video with the back to you, the audience. But there we go. Okay, well, I hope you have a great day, everybody. Please come back again sometime soon, and I'll see you later. Take it easy.